We
And,
like that. That's what
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No, that's fine. I said that's a perfect for us.
Yeah, I'm going to show you the photographs and all of that stuff. Are we ready to roll?
We are. You got it.
Okay.
Just before you start, the people that are in our group, if you, well, if you hang around afterwards, I wanted to ask if, yeah, I should have done it sooner. Never mind.
No. What were you going to? I'll be
I,
glad.
I am the demo chair and I'm always looking for artists and there's, and I've kind of exhausted my knowledge, and not everybody wants to do a Zoom, but some of our artists might be going to out and about and see somebody painting or think that they're of a quality that might want to do a Zoom meeting. And if they would just keep their eyes open, go into a gallery, get some cards, ask a couple questions, kind of help me find some more great artists for us to keep doing these. That's all I want to say.
Right off the top of my head, one of my favorites, and she's a California girl. Let me think, like a little south of you, I guess. But do you know Fei-Ling Lin?
No, Fei-Ling.
Fei-Ling is F-E-L-I-N-G, and then Lin, L-I-N. I might have her address.
Actually, Don, I think it's F-E-A-L-I-N.
Okay, you're right.
Well,
I can't.
maybe afterwards, if I'll write you a little note, and maybe you could, send me a couple of names of people that you think might be willing to do this.
I'll be glad to. And Fei-Ling is just well, she's a wonderful person and painter, and you'll like her a lot. But I'll talk to you about that.
Yeah, I'll touch you later.
Yeah.
So without further ado, my fellow artist, Don Andrews, a wonderful watercolor painter and a writer. Check out his book. I'll have to get it and flip it up there. So I'm going to turn it on over to you, Don.
All right. Thank you, Jolene. And hi, everybody. I don't really know how many of you are out there, but I'm not Martha in the next room. She's the brain. She knows how all of this works. But I think, Jolene, if you have questions, that's fine. You'll raise your hand or whatever.
We have a chat thing and people can ask questions and I'll deliver them.
Gotcha. Okay, that's great.
And I may prompt you to say stuff. So
yeah. Now I'm going to just be off camera for a minute. I've got to move this stool, get my water bucket and set up. And so it's going to be out of camera for about 10 seconds. Everybody.
No problem, Don.
Yep. All right, everyone. Thank you so much, all of you, for having me. And Martha, are you still, go ahead and go to the board, if you will. And Martha and I have a son who lives in Central California, just north of San Francisco. Honey, what is the name of the town Jake lives in?
Well, it was Pleasant Hills, but he's about to move to Massachusetts. So
I know, but when we visited him there, we Pleasant Hill, you say?
I believe that's what it was.
Anyway, this past spring, we visited our son out in California, and he had to work during the day. And so we got a car and drove to the beach. And this is, I think it's Stinson's Beach.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Yeah. Wonderful little beach area. And we walked on the beach and all of that, but we took a little time to do some driving along the coast, and California coast is so wonderful. From San Diego to Crescent City, I think, is the most northern town there. But anyway, so I thought, well, why not do a painting of the coast of California? So this is the reference material that I'll be working from. And a little bit of a lesson, I guess, that I am one who believes that there's no scene in nature that can't be improved by the artist. And one of the things that I like about the California coast, all of the rocks out in the water create all of these wonderful whitewater waves, and you can see them here, but they're just kind of linear and just happening along the edges here. And so one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to move this rock down a little bit and put a good bit more whitewater there. And that will be the focal point of the painting. So as is my practice, I always do a value sketch or two and figure out where the rock should be and where the whitewater should be, that kind of thing. And I just always recommend to painters that I know it helps to do a little bit of organization beforehand. So this is as much a reference material as this is. Set this over on the side here. Okay, I'm just going to jump in, and this is a little bit out of the screen, but the first thing I'm doing is maybe not the most exciting part of the demonstration. I'm wetting the page down and with clean water, and I like to get it pretty good and wet so that we get some soft blendings. I am going to be using what I call the traditional approach, which means we'll have to stop a time or two. I'll give you a little 5-minute break so that I can dry off. And what I describe as the traditional approach is painting down the value scale from lights. We'll start with lights, move through middle value, and finish up with the darks. And I like to say that the traditional approach to watercolor, I would say that probably 80 or 90% of watercolors are painted with that approach. And there's a good reason why, because we start off the painting in the lights. Well, the light washes in watercolor are pretty easy to change. And so we can kind of sneak down the value scale and let the painting evolve a little bit before we make too many commitments to the page. As you see, I really work the water in. It keeps it wetter longer. And okay, so I'm using a limited palette, which I do. And Martha, can you go to the palette, please? Yep. What I do, is I'm using 6 colors here. The two blues, 2 reds, 2 yellows. And so it's a light blue, which is cerulean blue. And the dark blue will be ultramarine blue. And those are 2 of my favorites. I use them a lot. The light reds will be, this is Red Hot Mama, which is, all of these are American Journey paints. And in other brands, it's called Scarlet Light. It's a nice hot red. And then the dark red is Permanent Magenta, which is actually true red. So then on the yellow side, I'll use Aureolin or Aurelian, however you prefer to say it. And then Burnt Sienna is my dark yellow. And there's no really such thing as dark yellow. It turns into something else. But the earth tones I think of as dark yellows, and it's not really true, but it's, I guess, as close to true as we can get. Okay, back. Well, they can watch the palette. I'm mixing a wonderful gray that has a violet tone to it. It's cerulean blue and red hot mama. And I use this in combination a lot. A little stronger. It's always a challenge. I tell myself to put some strength in those light washes.
Lighter, dries lighter than you think.
That's it. That's exactly right. Coming in.
I just bought that red hot mama. I wish I knew that that permanent magenta was a true red.
Yes, it is.
It's actually quite purple though, Don.
Well,
The permanent magenta.
it has what we call a purplish tone, but permanent magenta is actually true red. And you can kind of prove that by going to any print shop, and print shops only use, gosh, that's still, did I miss a spot? I must have. That should be better. I mean, what it did. Print shops can mix any color value. But if you look, they just have
My Central Coast Zoom.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe people should all mute their.
Yeah. Nancy, if you can mute them.
Okay. If you go to a print shop, and the red is called magenta, and it is that what Martha's calling kind of a purplish tone to it. And it is a good color to have in. If you don't have magenta, it's okay. You can use alizarin crimson. Alizarin crimson is practically all. It's very similar.
I tend to use the quinacridone rose, which is a little,
That's very similar as well. It's just a little bit of a lighter tone.
yeah.
And but yes, all of those rosy colors are pretty much the same stuff, and they are loaded with permanent magenta.
So you're saving your whites.
Yeah.
Everybody take note.
That's right.
Save your whites.
Save those whites. That's absolute. They are critical. And I'm big on saving those lights. And they will give
So now
you.
you're punching it up with a little more blue.
Well, it's a stronger mixture of the
Same colors.
same colors. Yeah. And just hold it a little bit. Okay. I'm going to stop and soften a few edges. And we'll come in now and just add a little Aurelian to that mixture. A little bit of, ooh, too much. Get just a earthy reddish color. I'm sorry, greenish color. and everything soft edge, blended, all of that. And that's what I want. I like to have some soft edges and blended edges in the beginning of the painting, because once this dries, and I'll stop and dry it off shortly, then everything gets hard edged and cut out. So try to get a few blended edges right out of the gate.
And Don, just so people know, you have your board at like a 35-degree angle so that the colors mix as they're going down the page.
That's right. How did you know that?
These are all the things that you usually forget to tell everybody.
Thank God for the better half.
She's exactly right. I'm just pushing all of these values down. Somewhere it's still in the light. I know that on the screen it looks middle value-ish, but I've learned from experience, I'm sure you know as well, that everything dries lighter.
You betcha.
And try to compensate for that right out of the gate.
Now, Don, I don't know if everybody knows, but Don used to do live models and do almost exclusively model painting, right, Don?
That's right. For many years.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah.
took a couple years to do this kind of experiment with your landscapes. How was that journey? What made you change just and be, it seems a lot looser than a figure per se? Is that something that was conscious or just a journey?
Well, I painted exclusively I don't know, 15 or 20 years. And I was known as a figure painter. I get to travel to all of these beautiful places like Central California. And we were talking about Asilomar, which
Yeah.
is, I guess that's considered Central California.
Northern.
Yeah. But anyway, it's beautiful, beautiful country. And I'm sure everybody knows it. And doggone, I thought, I would like to paint these areas and these places as well. And there's no rule that says if you paint figures, you can't paint landscape.
Now, wait a minute, let me look that up.
And so I started just fooling around with it and really enjoyed it. And so gradually I'm not sure, but Asilomar was either the first or one of the first places that I taught.
The landscape.
Yeah, the landscape. But anyway, I've enjoyed doing both. And I almost want to say, I think that landscape painting has been good for my figure painting, and figure painting has been good for my landscape painting. But anyway, it's something that I enjoy. And so I have, I guess, I tend to teach what people want me to teach, but
You bet.
I get asked to do landscape painting more than the figure painting, and that's fine by me.
Yeah.
But I enjoy doing the both. Okay. Let me stop and just soften a few edges here. Maybe have a little lifted light for the spray of the water. And hang on.
You Texan, y'all?
Yeah, I come back naturally.
I bet.
These are light to light middle value.
How much are you referring to your photograph?
I am not. I'm strictly looking at my
Value.
my value scale because I feel pretty comfortable as long. I kind of want to say this. As long as the painting is going well, I want to watch the page. Now, my favorite teacher, those of you who haven't been painting as long won't know this name, but he's a Californian and he really was my biggest influence. His name was Robert E. Wood, and he was from Southern California. But he used to tell me, I'd ask him all of those student questions that we all do. And
What class is that?
and he'd smile and he'd say, Don, you've got to learn to watch the page. The answer's on the page. And I always remember that.
That's a good one. I'm going to put that on our quote, but
it is a good one. And it he always said, you know, keep in mind the painting is in front of you. That the nobody cares how many rocks are in the water. You put as many as you need, but watch the page and let the painting lead you. And I think that's good advice.
I have recently done some plein air painting, and let me tell you, it's the hardest thing. As teaching, I tell my students the same kind of thing all the time, but when you're out there doing it.
Yeah, you're overly influenced.
Yeah, I guess, huh? Watch the page. I'm gonna write it and put it on my palette.
That's okay.
And would you talk a little bit about why you're softening some edges? Because I remember from your other teachings.
What happens is if you don't soften edges, if you're painting on dry paper, you're automatically creating hard edges. And hard edges aren't a bad thing, but hard edges are in focus and they demand attention. And so I'm softening up some of these edges because water is softer, but also because of the contrast that against the hard edges, you want to have a few soft edges so that everything's not cut out. So often people complained, oh, my painting is too in focus, and we have to get in the habit as we're painting. For instance, this shape that I'm putting in there, because this is dried. Look at the difference between this shape and this one here. This was painted in wet, and this is painted in dry. And again, I don't want to say hard edges are bad, but this is not where I want you to look. And so I'm coming in while it's still damp and just taking some of those hard edges off of there. And that kind of relieves it of that cut out kind of a feeling.
It lets your eye move.
That's right. It does actually, it gives your eye a way to get out of a shape and move on to the next shape. And so there are just lots of advantages, as I'm doing right now, of coming in, painting in a shape, getting it the form that you want. But before you leave it, take a minute to come in and just scrub out and soften a couple of those edges there. All right. This is very indicative of the beginning phase of the painting. If you think of it this way, everybody, a piano keyboard has high notes, middle notes, and low notes. They're not all the same, but they're within those three categories. And what I've done here is I've painted the high notes. Some are lighter and darker than others, but they're all somewhere in the first third of the value scale. So I'm going to dry this off, and then I'm going to come in and begin to move into that middle range. So everybody, if you need to get up, take a 5-minute break while I dry this off.
Okay. And if anybody has any questions they want me to ask Don, go ahead and type them in our chat. And I also put the paints Don uses in our chat little boxes, and it's by Cheap Joe's American Journey paint, watercolor paint. And Cheap Joe's art carries that.
Yeah, Jolene, I was going to just say that I don't know if anybody has met Cheap Joe or Joe Miller, but he is the most wonderful, kind, and, you know, just a wonderful man. And Don got to know him. I'm not sure how he got to know him, but he makes his paints, the American Journey, and they're really, Don's used them for years. They're really equivalent to a lot of other brands, but they come in they all come in 37 milliliter tubes.
Really nice, the big tubes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so Don was saying to another class that the reason he likes having the bigger tubes is then people aren't afraid to use his, you know, put little dabs of paint on instead of on their palette.
Instead of nicky. Here's the big tubes that compared to, say, Daniel Smith, they also come in little ones. I don't know if they're exactly the same 15 mil.
Yeah. Wait, is the Daniel Smith a 15 mil?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what a lot of
this is the American Journey brand. And I use them quite a bit. I also use Daniel Smith, and like one color I use a Holbein that I love.
Yeah.
Although I bought a what color was it? It was hang on. Well, the one that I use here's my color test. Yep. This is the Red Hot Mama, and it like he said, it's that kind of a hot red. It's a really strong, nice color. I really like it. I was using perylene, I can't remember how to say it. And I switched over to this Cheap Joe's. I used Cheap Joe's red, which is a little more fire engine red. But then I saw this Hot Mama, and I really like it because it's a warmer red, and it doesn't quite look like dried blood, which those they call them dead reds, which what everybody thinks of as a real red, and they're not really. And they don't make pretty purples, and they do good with orange, but a real red, I think, and what Don was saying with the magenta colored one, it makes better purples, better grays. It doesn't turn so muddy looking in watercolors. I think we forget that there's hot reds and cool, or hot colors and cool colors. And when you mix across the thing, you kind of get muddy colors. So let's go back to Don. He's doing stuff.
Well, what you said is absolutely right. Actually, I'm on purpose making a lot of grays cooler and warmer. And that is indicative of the coastline out on the West Coast. But
It's not that grays don't have their place, and I tell my students, every color isn't the star.
that's right. Boy, you got that right. And
I think when you were talking about softening edges, it kind of is kind of what I say when people are doing that. I go, that's not the star. That's not, that's just
that's right.
the bit player. That's the background of music.
Well, that's exactly right. I think you're right that also, and a lot of things come into play here, but everything in painting could be boiled down to the word contrast. And if you want to have a colorful painting, what is the contrast to color? Is gray. So anytime I'm trying to make a colorful statement, I make sure to have a little gray to play against that.
Makes the star shine.
That's it. And of course, every painting is different. Every subject matter is different, but a little bit of gray, as we're doing here, does kind of emphasize the colors that we're in trying to implement anyway. Going into the middle value range, I like to say that's where your best color opportunities lie, is in middle value. So I come in and try to paint some strength in the lights, but it's a challenge to paint the majority, over 50%, the majority of the page in the middle value range. And when we do that, then we emphasize the lights and the darks by contrast. So I'm big on
So did you say more than 50%?
yes. And of course, there are exceptions to everything.
Right.
But the majority, whatever that means, in the middle value range, so the lights and darks will be in the minority at the center of attention. So I try to, what I tell my students, when you get to middle value, slow down and take your time and build through middle value. Everybody's in a hurry to get to the darks, but and I like them too, but middle value is the key to color. It's where your best color opportunities lie.
Another great quote.
Thank you.
Middle value is the key to color.
Yeah. Now, see, on the monitor, this absolutely looks dark here.
Well, yeah.
But it's not. And from experience, I kind of know that everything's going to dry lighter. So I'm trying to build a little strength into this middle value range.
This is actually a very good thing for all of our people that paint in plein air. I've just kind of recently started doing that, and I notice that I tend to paint the whole thing in middle value. I lose the lights, and the darks are I think I'm doing it right, and then you get home and you go, whoops. Whoops.
Well, I quote Ed Whitney, who's a teacher from
You bet, yeah.
the East Coast, but a very good one. And he was such a good teacher because he could say things that you would remember. And he said that he told his class, if it looks right when it's wet,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
wrong.
I bet you $100 I have that written in a sketchbook from your classroom.
Oh, I'm sure I have quoted him for any number of years. Great teacher. Okay. I need to get some middle value into this water. And I'm going to pre-wet it so that it, and I should pre-mix the color as well, so that I'll be ready to roll. Don't want to go dark here. I'm going to have some darks in the water, but this is the next step, which is middle value, kind of cleaning my brush out and re-wet. I'm sorry.
That's another great thing that you just said about mixing enough color before you attack a
Yes.
place.
Yes, mix more than enough, because every time I think that's enough, it's never enough. So pre-wetting that, and then I can just pick up this brush and just bring a little more strength into that middle value range.
And is this pure gray or pure color, or did you mix it a gray, a kind of gray?
Well, there's a little bit of warm to it, so there is some gray,
Yeah.
but it's pretty much a watered down ultramarine.
Green, yeah.
And I'm going to just strengthen that a little bit out here.
Do you work in a limited palette a lot?
I do. I believe in it, and I don't think a limited palette is limited. I do. As a matter of fact, everybody, if you want to see my thoughts on a limited palette, go to Don Andrews Studio, and in the video section, scroll down, and you'll see a video that is Guatemala Church Color Harmony. And that video is free to watch. And it will, I do a demo explaining the thinking behind limited palette. And then I do a demo of a church after that. So if you'd like to know more about that, just go to my website and you can watch that demo.
JohnAndrewsStudio.net
.com.
.com.
Yes. What I'm doing is I'm trying to move around and save a nice passage of whites and lights through the middle section of the painting. So, and that will be where the emphasis is on. Actually, the dominant interest is going to be on this little rock right here, which I haven't addressed yet, but I will shortly.
Those bright colors are really popping. I love it.
Thank you. Let me just introduce. Little hints of shapes. I try to make sure to make each rock have a little different personality, a little different shape. And
Not be just a square
yeah,
or a circle. Half a circle.
that's exactly right.
Wait, you can look at mine. I got some half circles going on.
Okay. About now, what I do, I got this old work mat, and
Oh, wow.
I like to put it onto mat on it, and it's so important to me that I am working through middle value, which we talked about a little bit. And I feel like we're doing a pretty good job here so far. Softening, stopping, softening a few of these edges. Okay. Let me see. I think I'm going to stop. Well, let me just knock this down a little bit here. And then I'm going to stop and dry it off one more time.
Okie doke.
Okay, everybody take a 5-minute break.
And obviously, I know that we have, not all of us are watercolor painters, but all this information certainly I want to say transforms into oil colors and acrylics.
Oh, that's true. You know, just pertains to different art forms.
Exactly. And I've put in the chat room Dawn's website and also the American Journey paint name and the Cheap Joe's. Oh, somebody said they didn't know. Cheap Joe's is a mail order catalog that is wonderful. And it has lots and lots of free videos on his website also, along to So It Is Dawn. Just for your information.
All right, I'm going to put the mat back on it. Let me use a prettier mat. That last one looked like it been in a war or something. No, then maybe now. See, through the value scale. And that's another key to middle value, is if we can work in middle value, then those middle values begin, by contrast, to show off the whites and the lights. And that is like the star of the stage, so to speak. This is what I call capturing the lights. Notice that I keep the lights inside the body of the work. I don't let the lights go off the page if I can help it. And these are lights, L-I-G-H-T, but my best whites are kept in the body of the work, and they are the dominant character in the painting. I'm going to go back and just tickle a little bit of this far away landmass while it's dry, but I don't want that to be a big value change. I just want to have it a little stronger, a little more shake to it. Maybe a hint of a tree line or two. A hint of where a rock might be. Now we'll just let this blend away. Okay. All right. Now, the challenge is, can you paint as colorfully on the darker side of middle value as you can on the lighter side? It's kind of easy to paint colorful lights because we're putting down those first washes on white paper, and they always seem to be nice and pristine, so to speak. What I do is, now here, you see that this rock is warmer, and this rock is cooler, and this rock is gray, unless there's a real good reason. As I'm getting darker, I don't change the color temperature. In other words, I'm going to put a darker on this rock, or gray, and a darker green up in here, for instance, so that if you start mixing, it's like mixing hot water and cold water. If we come in and put cool over this warm, it's going to neutralize, and basically neutralize is a fancy way of saying it's going to get muddy. So I'm coming in and I'm mixing. Now I want this to be colorful, but I want it to be, I don't want it to be just dark. I want there to be some color in the dark. And so I'm coming in and hitting these rocks pretty hard with this strong value here. And now I'll come in and let that blend out there.
Ooh, ooh, oh, so pretty. We need to get a Silmar going again, Don. Come down, come on down. Come on up.
Actually, when Martha and I were just dating, this is 27 years ago, I guess. She went with me to a Silmar one year. And oh, it's a special place. I went there. Pam Della was the director. I never met Jade Fon. He had just passed away the first year that I was there. But always had good classes. The students were high level, and
And it was kind of like a group. There was several, 4 or 5 artists teaching at the same time.
yes, yes. Oh, so much fun. We have a critique
Yeah.
every night, and
Yeah.
and everybody would be, they probably had a taste or two after dinner. And everybody was in a good mood and just enjoying being there. It's such a gorgeous, gorgeous place. And oh, it's just it was just brings back so many fond memories.
It was so nice to, when you were like, I was taking your class, but then I think there was oh, who's the 2 guys that they did that little palette paper together.
Oh, Skip and Topher.
And yeah, they were there. I took a class with Topher up at his house one time, long time ago. And then him and Skip got together and did that palette thing, which is, I guess, is coming out, or they're bringing it out.
Well, I just talked, they're going to let it go.
Are they?
Yeah, Skip and Topher kind of getting a little older, and
We all.
and so they've decided to let that go.
Well, I got a stack of them.
Yeah. So do I. Okay.
Those darks just, man, pop that right out on.
Oh, that's what the darks, that's their job. And the main thing that I always tell people is put some color in your darks. Don't just grab Prussian blue and start putting dark carpet everywhere. Let your
Payne's gray.
exactly. Let try to be, and I use, boy, you can get so many beautiful darks.
Yeah.
Permanent magenta, ultramarine blue, and burnt sienna, different mixtures of those guys.
Make the best
And
darks, you bet. Yeah.
really make the darks show off.
Yeah, I don't even have any kind of blacks or neutrals on my palette.
I mix all of my neutrals with, and I explained that in the video, that the grays that I'm using are, you take your 3 primary lights and mix them together. Anytime you mix the 3 primaries together, you get a neutral. So it creates what I call color harmony. In other words, these colors go together because they're all made with the same 3 parents, so to speak.
Another great quote, Don.
Oh, I'm just in a good mood tonight, I guess. But yeah, it is explained in better detail in that program. Okay, well, just to get it nice and dark. Oh, I've got that warm there, and it kind of does work. So I'm going to come in and put that burnt sienna nice and dark there. And then I'll just let that softly blend. Darker, and then I don't want a hard edge over there on the side, so I'm coming in, just feathering that out so that it blends on the page.
Kind of pushes you into the middle.
Yes, yeah, it's actually like holding very dramatically holding those lights in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
middle of the page. And now I want to go into the water. Let me clean up a little bit. We're doing okay. I'm
Yeah,
getting close.
we're just about to hit the hour mark.
Yeah, I see it. I'm pre-wetting again so that I get some soft edges there. Pre-wetting in here. Down in here. And then I'm really mixing that paint nice and rich. Want it to be in here.
Ooh. Good golly molly, that's so pretty.
Let's see. Yes. Need to angle some of these. Oh, that's way too hard edged there. Soften that up. There we go. And we need to let that softly blend. Have to kind of feather out these stronger values.
But by doing that, the way that you're doing it, you did the lights first, and the lights in the background now are just like that foggy
Uh-huh.
Monterey Coast day.
Yeah.
Just lovely.
I love that look as well. And they do a good job to play against the more dominant
Yeah.
colors. I want to have just a bit more of that dark in here. There we go. Maybe just a little there. Little hard edged right in there.
And you're not fussing with a lot of details.
No, somebody, especially in a demo, of course, my demos are, I'm painting faster than I would be
Normal.
doing on my own, but somebody once said if the big shapes work, the small shapes won't be any problem. So I feel like I want to get someplace where we get behind that rock a little bit. There we go. That helps. And we'll let this just blend out of the page. All right, let's see if this is dry. We're getting close, everybody. I'm gonna mix a real dark green. One of my favorite things of the beach and as Silmar and all up and down the coast of California, and are those wonderful cypress trees that just grow in the most unusual directions and really have so much character to them. And that's not dark enough. I'm adding a little burnt sienna to that ultramarine, so nice and dark there.
Good Lord. I struggled with that stupid tree this last weekend. I wanted to tear my paper up. You just flicked it. And it's a cypress. Not fair.
It's oh, they're just the most wonderful shapes. And want to go a little darker. Well, I don't know that I have ever seen them grow anywhere else but on the West.
I don't think they do. I think that there's, yeah, I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Don't quote me, but I think that they're kind of, they are the Monterey cypress.
Well, certainly California, that California coast
Yeah.
is it'll take your breath away, that's for sure. Little bit of dark in there. And I'm gonna take magenta, mix into this green, just get a little more value change happening. Need to soften a few edges. And I haven't really worked down here much. I don't want, one of the things I believe is keep the foreground simple and not too detailed. Its job is to lead us into the painting, to take us to the interest, but not be the interest. So try to keep those foregrounds nice and simple. Just a little grayer, a little darker. And then let that feather out. And lots of soft edges in here. And this is supposed to be a tree limb. I may have to write tree limb on here.
Is that how I'm supposed to do it? I just label everything?
You know, it helps.
I got a lot of those paintings. I got to label.
I always laugh. You mentioned Christopher Schenck, and he has such a dry, I talked to him a couple of months ago, such a dry sense of humor. And we were talking about teaching. And he said, Don, you know you've done a bad demo when at the end you say to the class, well, you know what I mean.
Well, it's close.
That is so him.
Did you tell him I would never say that?
He has such a unique wit. I just. Let's see, everybody. Is that a driftwood, or either it's one of those lizards that grow down in Florida?
Let the viewer decide.
Yeah. I'm getting real close to finish. I always like to quote another California painter. He's passed on, great painter, named of Rex Brandt. And he also was a big influence. And he said, the painting is usually done before you are. And I'm reminding myself of that as I paint. Let's see. One more thing, this little rock here needs a better date there. And you know, you can always have a little bit go out into the water. Everybody, if you have any questions, I'm going to stop.
Somebody wanted to know if you were using a Robert Simmons brush. Or do you have, what brushes are you using?
Oh, I used both the Robert Simmons. Now, Robert Simmons has gone out of business, I understand.
Oh,
And I,
Yeah, Don,
huh?
you can get them. I think you can still get them at Dick Blick.
Oh, is that right? Well,
Yeah.
check, and if you want to get a Robert Simmons brush, do it now. I don't think Cheap Joe's has them anymore. But anyway, have used them for many, many years. And I also use Cheap Joe's brushes, which are these, they have a green handle. They're American Journey. They're also synthetic. I like the synthetic brushes because they have a lot of snap. When you bend them on the side, here, let me get over here. They jump right back.
are they as soft as the Robert Simmons?
Well, they have a lot of snap, and they handle absolutely, just can hardly tell the difference between them. They both, they're great for lifting. That's what I like them for. Is they both of them very good for lifting out lights out of the page.
I got his white handled ones, the cheap ones, and they're really, I mean, they're the cheapest ones. I think it's his Cheap Joe's cheap brush, and they're a really good brush.
Well, look at the beautiful bevel point.
Yeah.
And it just, they hold their shape just wonderfully.
Well,
And
I'm gonna have to order some.
and you know, that's no more than $10. They're very very inexpensive. All right, everybody.
Don, this is gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate being asked to do it. It's always fun to do a demo for people, and you always hope it turns out. You never know.
Well, you did a good job.
But if there are any questions, comments, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Anybody else got a question for Don? You can unmute if you'd like to talk. No, I can keep talking.
Okay.
Well, Don, I
Well-
really, really appreciate you doing this for our group. We are thrilled that you did it.
Oh, well, right back at you. Thank you for having me. And I enjoyed working for y'all. I always like painting California, and it gave me a good excuse to go back to Stinson's Beach. So On behalf of Martha and me, I'll thank you one more time and
Thanks,
then,
IT Martha.
yeah.